Bienvenidex to Merendiando.
We've got another live Merendiando episode for you.
Our guest this week is Joie Lamar, engineer, bestselling author, and public speaker with roots in Brooklyn, Puerto Rico, and Toronto.
We talk about Joie's passion for social causes, her work as a writer, and
love. Special thanks to Dulcinella Bakery and
McCausland Beer for sponsoring this episode. Let's get into it. So today we have a super special guest who is very close to my heart, who I love so much. We both love this person so much.
You're so close to my heart.
Yes.
Aw.
Yes. Joie Lamar is our guest today. Applause.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.
Food, wine, I'm here.
So Joie is an engineer, a novelist, a queer Latinx community member, and a very special person. So really, really excited to chat with you today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
To start, we wanted to do a rapid fire question. Well, Camila calls it, okay, I'll do it because I love you.
Thank you.
Merendiando, hot Cheeto, hot seat, rapid fire question.
Yes.
No foreplay. Go.
So,
Exactly, just straight.
okay, here we go. Coffee or chocolate?
Chocolate.
Spicy or sweet?
Sweet.
Summer or winter?
Summer.
Camila or Monica?
Both.
Oh.
The
It's a trick
answer is
question.
none. I'm joking. Selena or Shakira?
Oh, Shakira.
Guess what?
sorry.
I thought about this too. I think I might be Shakira with you
No,
too.
it's Selena the queen.
She is a
Yeah,
queen.
but hips don't lie.
Ooh, they don't.
I'm Puerto Rican. We're all about the hips.
Okay. Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Live or recorded? Recorded. Oh, yes.
Live.
Apocalypse or utopia?
Utopia.
Meriendo cena.
Santa.
Top or bottom?
Top.
Joey's rapid fire questions. You killed it. It was
You
so
answered
good.
right. All the questions were.
I did.
Yeah.
I practiced.
Did you?
Especially that top part.
Okay.
Let's keep drinking.
All right.
sorry. Keep it clean.
No, it's okay. We're all cool here. We're all cool with it. So one of the interesting things about you, Joey, is that you have connections with so many different parts of the world. So Puerto Rico, the U.S., and Canada. You recently became a Canadian citizen.
I did.
So congratulations on
Thank
that.
you.
That's a
Thank
huge
you.
process.
I'm
a
happy
huge
to
thing
be
to
here.
do. Yeah. So one of the things that we're exploring in this festival is people who have connections to different parts of the world and bring stories with them from those parts of the world, how they can impact them here, stories that arrive from being here in this new place as well. So basically my question to you is, let's just figure out all those different places that you have connections to. Firstly, you were born in Puerto Rico, is that true?
I was born in Brooklyn, New York.
And Brooklyn, New York. Okay, got it.
From a Puerto Rican family. Of a
Okay.
Puerto Rican family. Now, and from, too, I suppose, technically.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And then how long were you in Brooklyn for?
Well, not very long. We moved to Staten Island when I was very young, and I was raised in Staten Island, New York. And
Cool.
I was there for almost my entire life.
Yeah. And in your memoirs, you go into a lot of stories about the streets of New York, which I
Yeah.
always think is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when did you come to Canada?
Came to Canada. I started dating my wife in 2000. So
Shout
a
out
long
to
time.
Natalie in the crowd.
Yeah. So I came to Canada in 2000, and I've been here ever since. You know, we dated for 9 years, and then I became permanent.
Aw, I want to know the love story. How did it happen?
She made me panty soup.
What is that?
Panty soup? Oh, agua de calzón? No.
Bueno, sopa de panty.
Okay.
Sopa
I
de
would say
panty,
different.
right?
Should I know what this is?
I don't know. I don't know if we are thinking about the same.
No, I
thing.
don't
No,
think so.
oh no. Scratch
No,
that.
there's an old Puerto Rican myth that when you get attached to someone, uncontrollably, it's probably because they put their panties in
No,
the-
yeah, it's the same thing then.
same
But
thing?
we call it agua de calzón.
Ah,
It's a little
okay.
bit more graphic.
Yeah.
No, that's romantic.
Okay, I learned today. That's interesting.
So at the time I was living in Orlando, Florida, because I had a business there that catered to the Caribbean. And so I say panty soup because why else would anybody come to the harshness of Canada from Florida and the Caribbean? But she did it.
Must be love.
Yeah.
And we thank you for that.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
I thank her for it. I thank her for it all the time.
You've done so many different kinds of, like when I think of you, I think of someone who's always got a project on the go, who's always interested in some new kind of like venture, artistically and socially and in justice too. So you said you had a business in Orlando. What was
It
that?
was an engineering business. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because
So I built the networks for wireless companies in like Jamaica and Puerto Rico and St. Lucia and I mean almost every island.
wow,
And how did you went from that to start writing? Like when did you were like, I also want to be a writer?
because that's so many things.
Well, I've always written, but I've done more technical writing. And I did a children's book when I was young, like 9 years old. My mother saved it. But and then when I came to Canada and was planning on retiring, I said to my wife one day, I think I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write my memoirs. And she was like, yeah, okay, right. And then I just did. I just kind of buckled down and did, and it just opened up all this, engineers by nature are very creative anyway,
Yeah.
so it just took me to a different side of my brain, but it was still this, creativity, and it just opened up all these stories that I had archived, as well as all of the ones that my imagination just kind of goes crazy with.
Totally.
Yeah, because you started with a memoir, but then you started writing more fiction after,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I've started so I wrote a crime fiction novel that came out, and
G?
then G.
Yeah.
In
exciting.
April of
And then,
2019, available now.
Yes.
Everyone.
And I've just finished a children's book, which I also illustrated, and that's coming out in 2020.
Wow.
And I'm excited about that because it speaks about, gender conformity, and, it's
That's
based around a dust bunny, right? Because dust bunny Ben, he doesn't have, he's not a he or a she, he's my friend. They are my friend, kind of a thing. So
I need that.
anyway, so I just developed that, and now I'm off doing sci-fi.
You're hearing this, right? There's so many things. It's amazing. It's so beautiful that you have so much creative energy inside you and you're offering it to people. It's so great.
That's part of my mental health,
Thing,
taking
yeah.
care of it, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you think about it, 50 years, 100 years ago, I would have been considered insane and maybe gotten a frontal lobotomy. So now I get publishing contracts.
Oh,
Snaps for that. Yes. One thing I've heard you say over social media quite a bit is that you are a firm believer that women are going to take over the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Would you like to speak a little bit about that? Because I'm here for that.
Yeah. And I'm not anti-men. I say
No.
that, like some of the most important people in my life have been men, my father, my son, my father-in-law. But I still think that women as a whole contain the essence of the universe, right? We bring that nurturing, we bring that environmental connection that men traditionally, through the patriarchy and government and everything else, have been destroying. And I'm talking about all women too. I'm talking about anybody who identifies as a woman embraces the power of being a woman.
Very cool.
So.
Can I ask you about your writing process? What does that look like? Are you one of those people who wakes up really early in the morning and writes and then goes about their day? or-
Sometimes, yeah. There's
Yeah.
no process. I really should go to some sort of class and really, put it down properly, but there's really no process. I get an idea, I write it down, I write some more, I walk around, put on my robe, I make coffee, I pet the dog, I, do stuff with the wife, maybe write something else. And then sometimes it just hits me and I just write. And
Right. Yeah.
next thing I know, I have a book. I have no formal training, nor do I have any formal process. I just let my brain go
Cool.
whenever
That's
it
powerful.
wants to.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you a bit about Puerto Rico because you are super involved in basically, well, you are Puerto Rican, so you kind of are involved. But one of the things that was interesting was that in Hurricane Maria, I saw that you were getting involved with getting container houses together and like
Yeah.
providing relief for people. So I was
Yeah.
wondering if you could talk about that a little.
We went down and we kind of assessed the damage in some of the hardest hit areas. It's hard to pinpoint one place or another because everywhere was, except for the tourist areas, which Trump and everybody fixed up nice so that the money would keep coming in. All the outside towns were still black. The blue tarps, it was an ocean of blue tarps, people missing roofs and houses. So we kind of realized we had gone out for and taken on more than we thought we would from here.
Okay.
But when we got there, we just kind of grabbed a couple of houses that we thought were in really bad shape, listened to the people's stories. We handed out water filters, and then we put in 2 container homes for homes that were completely taken off their foundation. And we went, so the hurricane happened in September, we went in January. And these 2 families were living underneath the blue tarp that FEMA gave them in just one room that survived. And you know, I still go back to the videotape that I took of the woman in Spanish. I don't know if you guys got to see it. I recorded it live, just crying and telling me in Spanish, you know, that she goes crazy, that she walks from one corner of the room to the other corner of the room, and when it rains, it's wet in there, and she had no bathroom, she had no kitchen. It was just sad. It was, I don't know, and FEMA came out and put up that blue tarp that they put, and they ripped it. They ripped the blue tarp and they left it there, and they said, oh, sorry, you know, we're running out of tarps, but you have one now, and it's blue. A little torn, but be grateful. It was horrible.
What?
It was horrible.
Wow.
It was hard to deal with.
Did you?
But-
Yeah.
But she's living in a beautiful container home now. We got it put on the foundation, and we even had a team come in before that and put a military tent in place before the container home got put in. So it was great. And they're both families are living happily ever after. And the container homes are sharp. They're really nice. Like.
Cool. Like, did you know that you wanted to go in person to see things when you saw the hurricane?
Yeah. I knew right away we had to do something. It just, my wife can tell you, when I get it in my mind that I have to do something, like you can't stop me.
Totally.
From a book to a container home to a dog, if I want it, it's happening.
Yeah, you just dive in head first.
Yeah.
Super admirable. Yeah.
Also with helping community, something that actually brought Camila and I together, it was the book that you put together to raise money for the victims for the 49 victims that we lost.
49.
Los 49 que perdimos en Orlando.
Yeah.
And that was a beautiful way to honor. I think you gave a lot of artists, Latinx and artists of color who we didn't know what to do. You gave us an amazing platform and opportunity to be like, oh, this might actually help. And that was beautiful. How did you came up with that book?
Well, it was easy. I was going to do it myself. I got so emotionally vested in what happened because I partied at the Pulse. And it was a club I went to when I lived in Orlando. I even took my wife. One of our first dates was to the Pulse, and so when it all happened, it was that part of it was personal for me. But also one of the people who was killed was someone that I knew. She wasn't a friend, but I knew, and all of it put together drove me to, I had to do something. So I thought I was going to do a poetry book and just kind of let out all of these feelings and this pain and put it between, 2 covers and get it. But when I sat down to try and do it, it was just too much for me.
Totally.
And it was emotionally draining. And I couldn't get past, like, the one poem that I put in there. I couldn't get past that poem. So I thought, okay, well, maybe if I share this feeling with 48 other people in the Toronto community, and I called just a couple of the people that I know that are artists and writers or photographers, and I said, what do you think? And they said, yeah, let's go with it. And then I reached out to the community. I had already met Camila because you sang at my book launch actually in 2015. How did I meet you, Monica?
Oh, in a dream.
It's possible.
You said lesbian in front of a mirror, and I appear behind you.
So magical.
Did I rub
doing
it?
the panties?
Oh, okay. The
And I was like, more salt. We met at a panel. It was
that's right. Yeah.
Omar, you, and me.
And Heath. Yeah, that was great. Yeah. So I met you all, and I thought, okay, well, because the Pulse Massacre affected predominantly a majority of Latinos, I had to have Latino representation in the book, and so I reached out to all of you, and you all were just amazing. Honestly, the book is beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all of the proceeds for the book go to LGBTQ queer organizations, right?
They do. It goes
Yeah.
to GLAAD. 90% of it goes to GLAAD. 10% of it was going to Pride School Atlanta. Unfortunately, Pride School Atlanta closed under the Trump administration.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's a
Okay.
sad thing.
Why
Yeah.
did they? I don't know a lot about that school. What was that school? Pride School
was-
sounds very interesting.
Yeah, Pride School was an LGBTQ plus school for children who identified in any one of those marginalized groups, giving them a location to be educated in a
Wow.
safe environment. It was a beautiful school, and it was run by a dear friend who's a transgender male who's just, doing all the right things for the community. But unfortunately, the Trump administration didn't see fit to fund it. And they tried to get as much funding as it could, and God knows we sold enough books,
Right.
to get something towards them, but it wasn't enough. And then they also received a lot of hate mail and stuff that was dangerous for the kids, so they had to shut it down.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry to hear that.
yeah, me too.
Woof.
It's-
Yeah.
So the rest is still going to GLAAD, and we're supporting that, so.
Do you ever feel any tensions having that dual citizenship, or do you think it do you ever feel tied to one place more, or
No, I'm tied to Canada,
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah.
I'm tied to Canada.
how
completely.
I
so?
love Canada.
Well, my wife is Canadian, and I love her, and that commitment goes to everything that's a part of her: her country, her child, her parents, her family, her background, her culture. That's, for anybody who's, just starting out in a relationship, because we're verging on a 20 years together, the way to do it is to totally immerse yourself in that person, and vice versa. It's, you don't live.
Monica's just hyperventilating over there.
Come on, Monica.
No, yeah, well, I will take
Drink the
notes.
soup.
I
Drink the
need to
soup.
find her.
Okay, yeah. And you also have like a mixed cultural relationship too, like with different cultural backgrounds. So
We do. She's Sri Lankan. I'm Puerto Rican, so we're Lanka-Rican.
yeah, very cool. Very cool. Do you have any tips for people who are trying to engage with other people from different cultures, like romantically? Because that's a thing. Sometimes people are pretty protective of their cultures, and it's a whole thing. So
I don't think I could have. I don't have the experience for that. I've always been in multicultural relationships, including my wife. We don't even think about it, right? The food is good.
the food is probably
Right?
so
Sri
good.
Lankan food is good. Puerto Rican food. Sometimes we have rice and beans with parathas. It's just
That sounds like the future.
Can
Yeah.
we come over?
absolutely anytime.
Yeah, I'll bring my partner. I'll be submersed in her.
One thing we do notice is there's a lot of commonalities in our cultures, right? Maybe it's because the Spanish and the Portuguese just kind of raped and pillaged everywhere.
Could be.
Yeah. So there's a lot of island stuff that applies to her island as well. So
Island stuff.
yeah, island
Oh,
stuff.
man, the best
Island
stuff.
love, yeah, man.
Awesome. I'm wondering, have you found any differences between the queer community in the States and the queer community that you're finding in Toronto? Because you're a very active member of the queer community here.
Yeah, I would say the queer community here is, especially, the village, which is the central point of it, is very male. It's very gay male here, whereas, I only have New York and Orlando to really compare it to. There was more women, and, beautiful clubs and beautiful places for women. There also in New York and Orlando, there were a lot more trans-safe places. And I hate to
Interesting.
use that word safe places. Let me just change that.
Yeah.
I like to call them brave places, because you can't decide what's safe for me. I can only decide if I'm brave enough to go there, right? So, yeah, there's a lot more brave places in the States, in the 2 states that I lived in anywhere. And, it's great here. I think the freedoms that you have here, and the equality, and, marriage and everything. I loved it. I could never live someplace where I can't walk down the street holding her hand. And I love when, and she does it more than I do. Like, she'll just blurt out, "We're married," and people don't flinch, right?
Right.
They just don't. They don't. Whereas, you know, I know that in places in the States, they might go, "What?"
That's been, I think, a big topic of discussion in the queer community here. Like, where are the safe places for, like, run by women, led by women of anywhere on the spectrum of
Yeah.
feminists? And it's kind of cool because the village, the church in Wellesley, is definitely like a center. But then there's also an interesting West End queer community that's growing in Toronto, like
Right.
Queen West-ish area. And from what I've experienced, that's a little bit more like there's more women in charge over there than there is in the
Oh.
church in Wellesley
I have
area.
to pay attention then. Yeah.
Just
Okay.
so
Then
if you bring enough queer people, that will be a queer space too.
That's
Exactly.
true.
Wherever you
That's true.
go.
That's a very important thing to do.
Yeah, like when Jesus used to say,
Keep going.
I'm going somewhere.
When Jesus used
We're
to
going
say,
so-
"This queer
Well,
space."
¿Cómo se dice cuando uno o dos, when one, okay, sorry. More than one unite in my name, I'm there. That's the queer community too.
That's
If there's two queer people there, it's a queer space now.
Yes.
That's
That's
sir.
it.
Yeah.
That's what you would knew. That's what we create spaces now.
Yeah.
Like
absolutely.
Jesus.
I loved that.
Yeah.
Let's all take that with us.
Gay
okay?
Jesus?
Gay Jesus. Oh.
It's great. It's great. Well, yeah, I mean, that's a thing too. Did you grow up religious at all?
Oh, yes.
You did, yeah. What house, man? What house were you
Roman Catholic,
Yes, a way to go.
Okay, snaps for Roman Catholics everywhere.
like Roman
Okay.
Catholic, guilt about everything.
Yes.
Okay,
I
and
love it.
did you go to church every Sunday, sort of?
Every
situation?
Sunday, I went to Catholic school my entire life, all
Okay.
the way till, I graduated from high school.
Yeah.
Great place to meet women, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was tough. It was tough.
Yeah?
It was very,
Did you have like questions about it while you were in there? Or
Yes.
yeah.
yeah, I questioned my normalcy. I questioned my, I questioned everything. I still question it to this day, right? I mean, I'm not a religious person. I think that the universe is what everybody is confused for the word God. That's my own opinion. I respect everybody's religion, though, but I look at it this way, I mean, you find the book that best fills your soul, right? Every religious book, the Quran, the Bible, the Torah, they all profess love, and yet so many people who, hold those books tightly don't do the same, right? I'm more of a fan of the Kama Sutra as a Bible, because
Got
that's
it.
real
Yeah.
definition of love right there.
There's active strategies in there.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I'm
totally.
just kidding. I don't, there are certain parts of the Catholic religion that I'm still clinging to because I've been indoctrinated all the years, right? Like I still kiss the bread before I put it in the garbage, right? I mean, it's just,
I didn't know that was a thing.
I didn't know either.
that was a
so.
thing, yeah.
What
Okay.
church did you went
Yeah,
to?
yeah, my mother used to do that. You kiss the bread and bless it before you put it in the garbage. I don't know.
Is it like the body of Christ bread?
Yes,
Got it.
yeah,
Got it.
exactly.
Okay.
So.
You still do that?
I still do it.
Yeah, it's hard
I
to
don't
break
know
out of
why,
things.
right?
I don't know.
Yeah,
If it's
it's
something beautiful to you,
It warms my soul. So I mean, that's what religion should. I mean, it was intended to control people and oppress people, especially women. Just saying. But in its purity, it has love running through it, and we just need to pay attention to that part.
Totally.
Right? And Dalai Lama said, the true meaning of love is the absence of judgment, and I think that was what brought me closest to Buddhism, to be able to control that and not judge so quickly and to give people the benefit of that. I think the best, and my wife will say this, sometimes to my detriment, but I think the best in people, because I think most people will either rise to what I believe them to be, or they'll prove themselves not, and then, it's easy, right? Like then you say, okay, this person has issues that, we just don't see eye to eye with. But it's an easier way to live than saying you're bad and you sinned and you're going to hell and you're going to heaven. What the heck? It's too much stress, right? We're all going to the same place when we die, and nobody knows what that is, right?
Totally.
Nobody's telling us either, right?
Totally.
So, but for me, the way I handle it is just to be positive and to keep smiling in the face of adversity at all times, because you kind of like your face tells you how to be, right? Like your face dictates how you're going to spend the rest of your day. If you wake up in the morning and say, it's going to be a shit day, guaranteed it's going to be a shit day.
Yeah.
But if you wake up in the morning and you go, you know what, today's going to be a good day no matter what comes my way, you make it. And we always make it.
And so with everything you have going on, you added one more beautiful thing. So on January 2020, we have a new podcast called Positively Joyful.
Yes.
Yes, check it
Yeah.
out, everybody. January 2020. And what inspired you to start
Yeah.
that?
What inspired me was getting up in the morning and looking at Facebook or Twitter and seeing all the bad news. Like it really became heavy on my heart. And you put on the television, and there it is in between, whatever is your favorite show. For me, it's Survivor. But whatever is your favorite show, there's more news and more, people doing horrible things. And I thought, back when I was as young as you guys, we didn't have this access. And so we were naturally more chipper, and that's not anybody's fault except this constant saturation of bad news, false news. It's all very negative. And I thought, I need to counter it, in my small way. And so my podcast is going to be all about solutions and positive thing. I want to shed light on people who are doing innovative, great things, and also talk about, happier times and happy places to be. And just I've talked to some incredible people. I can't release the information yet, but it's just a different way of approaching life. And I hope people will tune in rather than put on CNN or, read through all the horrible stuff on the news. Because we can swim in problems or we can, taste the solution.
Yeah.
Right.
Seems like you're all about creating solutions and opportunities for people to speak and to have a better life,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And smile more.
Yeah.
Smile more.
It's good medicine.
And we're going to wrap it up.
Yes,
Right
we
there.
are.
If you can just tell us, with that's goodbye. If you can tell us where we can, what books can we find of you right now if people are interesting? So
Right now, G for Gangster is available on Amazon, and as of January 2020, it should be in bookstores.
It's a crime thriller.
It's a
People
crime
like that
thriller, an
kind of thing.
LGBTQ crime thriller,
Yeah.
and it's about connections.
Ooh,
It's about connections,
Okay.
not just the crime.
beautiful. Okay. Thank you so much for being
so
here,
much.
Joey.
Thank you
and
both for
sharing
having
yourself.
me.
So
You guys are
Everybody
amazing.
find some joy today. Find some pleasure wherever you can find it.
Radio Aluna Teatro is produced by Aluna Theater, with support from the Metcalf Foundation, the Laidlaw Foundation, the City of Toronto, the Canada's Council for the Arts, the Ontario Arts Council, and the Toronto Arts Council.
Aluna Theater is Beatriz Pizano and Trevor Schwellnus, with Sue Balint and Gia Nahmens. Radio Aluna Theater is produced by Camila Diaz-Varela and Mónica Garrido.
For more about Aluna Theater, visit us at alunatheater.ca. Follow at Aluna Theater on Twitter or Instagram, or like us on Facebook.
Follow and subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Google Play, and wherever you get your podcasts.